Hey there, Doodle lover. Are you ready to finally feel proud of your Doodle's behavior? Not just their adorable face? Then don't miss my free 10-day Doodle Parent Challenge starting September 5th. It's the training reset you've been craving. Live, science-backed, and built just for Doodle parents like you. Head to thedoodlepro.com/parent challenge to save your free spot now. That's thedoodlepro.com/parent challenge. I'll see you inside.
I think hearing this about true wolves and high content, if they don't need it, then using science-based and humane methods can really still work with your dog.
You are such a wise woman because that is one of the big reasons, aside from the excitement, the personal excitement I had for working with wolves, I believed, and it became true, that if I can work with these animals, I can then use them for models to help pet parents understand that indeed those devices and those aversive methods are not only unnecessary, but will contradict what our goals are in trying to achieve. And in my videos on YouTube, you will see Journey, that big, that wolf dog walking on a harness. And also you will see the director of the Wolf Education Project teaching Shiloh to walk on a harness. And with the right direction and with the right reinforcement, we are their guides. And with high value treats, typically healthy dog food, meat, dogs are biologically meat eaters. They're going to learn good habits. So right. That is one of the things that I can point to and say, see this? Your Doodle is not more difficult to handle than this wolf dog. Believe me. So it works like magic.
Doodle breed dogs are easy to love, but can be challenging to parent. I'm Doodle expert Corinne Gearhart, also known as the Doodle Pro, and I'm here to help Doodle parents have a more fulfilling and rewarding experience with their Doodles. No one has professionally worked with as many different Doodle breeds or has more experience with Doodles than I have, and I love to share my expertise in a fun, compassionate, and non-judgmental way. From my years of work and education in the pet care and dog training industry, I have an incredible network of skilled training, grooming, and veterinary professionals to share their knowledge with you and give you the Doodle-specific answers you're looking for. I hope you enjoy today's episode as I help you parent your Doodle like a pro. This interview with Linda Michaels was so rich with valuable information for Doodle owners, I had to break it into 3 parts. Part 1 is going to discuss her experience with training wolf dogs and how that led to the do no harm principles and ethics. Part 2 is going to discuss her trademark hierarchy of dog needs. And part 3 is going to discuss how to train your Doodle to stop barking. And most importantly, uncover the reasons why they're barking. Linda Michaels, author, speaker, and leading expert on do no harm, force-free dog training, created the internationally acclaimed hierarchy of dog needs. With an advanced degree in psychology and 5 years of shelter rescue experience, Linda bridges the gap between research, dog trainers, and pet parents. Her new book, The Do No Harm Dog Training and Behavior Handbook, featuring the hierarchy of dog needs, is designed for both new and seasoned trainers, other animal-related professionals, and pet parents too. As an influencer in animal welfare advocacy, she speaks for those who cannot speak for themselves. As she says, the heart beats at our feet. Linda, I'm so happy to have you here. And Linda and I were chatting before we got started,
just of our shared love for wolves. And she has experience directly working with wolf dogs and high content wolf dogs. So before we dive in to her more academic side of things, I would love to talk about that and her inspiration. Can you share more, Linda?
Oh, absolutely. This is one of my favorite topics because this is not only working with wolf dogs was not only one of the highlights of my career, but of my life. If you're canine enamored like I am, having the experience with these animals changes you. It excites you in a way that really can't be described. One day I have to see a video on YouTube of these people going up to wolves and petting them and interacting with them. And this was many years ago. And my eyes got really big. And I thought, where are they? I got to go.
Yeah.
I decided right then and there I was going to find them. It turned out they were right in my backyard practically. This was the Wolf Mountain Sanctuary, where wolves who have been in movies and people who have adopted or somehow got a hold of a wolf and then realized this is not a big dog, have just abandoned them. And there is a woman called Little Wolf who actually grew up with wolves. She's a Native American and she can read body language, thank goodness, like no one that I've met. And that my appreciation for reading body language came from that first experience when I went there. And the Wolf Mountain Sanctuary is in Lucerne, California. I went, stayed in a hotel in Palm Springs, and I called my assistant the night before because I started getting very nervous about this experience because I didn't know what to expect. And so I told Chris, I said, I'm going to visit the wolves tomorrow. And he said, yeah, that could be dangerous. I know that it could be, but I had already made my peace. I had decided.
You had to do it.
I did. I said, I'm doing this. If this is the end, then so be it.
That's a way to go. Yes.
Little Wolf was so skilled at directing the visitors there and what not to do and how to approach them. She quelled the fear, the natural fear, which it's adaptive to survival, to
Right.
you just don't trust strangers coming in and touching you, walking up to you. And the same is true with dogs. So much of what I learned there crosses over to dogs. And so I was high for a couple
Yes.
weeks. It was so wonderful. I used to have an organization called Pet Professionals of San Diego. And I had an event called Thanksgiving Dog Day. And I had a blessing of the animals. And the person who did the blessing called me one day and she said, I have some friends who have a wolf dog, the Wolf Education Project in Julian, and they would like you to come and train their wolf dogs. And I had never done this before. My education had taught me in my graduate program that learning principles apply to all species, across species. And so I thought I cannot pass up this opportunity. I don't know what I'm doing, but I know how to train dogs. But I like to start working with dogs at the age of 8 weeks, if possible, because just like us, and I like to make a lot of analogies to humans because this really helps pet parents to empathize with their dogs. But just like our childhood experiences just stick like glue, little puppies absorb everything and they learn very quickly. Asked the director of the Wolf Education Project, I said, by the way, how old are they? Good question, Linda. And he said, 7 months and 8 months. I thought,
That's all dogs when we hear from them in adolescence, right?
I thought, okay, I'm going. And I made mistakes. I walked in there with my dog treat bag. And these animals have large brains. They are significantly larger brains than the domestic dog because living in the wild, their lineage, they need to be sly and cunning and to problem solve and figure stuff out. Unlike our doodles,
Bowl is filled twice a day.
they grabbed my treat bag and my hair. They just had no manners. No manners, and they're curious. The people that had the wolf dogs had an education project. It had to be also ethically correct for me to go and work with these animals. And wonderfully, it was because they were using the wolf dogs to educate the public about saving our wolves in the wild.
No, good.
So, yeah, it was like the perfect project for me. And I drove up the hill in Julian. It's a very mountainous location. And you could hear them all howling as you went up the road. It was like music to my ears. I was just
They're calling you.
I love this.
Can you tell I had wolf posters up in my little tween room and wolf t-shirts? Can you tell?
I can, because you are interested in this subject.
Yes.
So anyway, I got out of there. I asked the director, Jason, I said, I need you to separate these animals. I can't go in with a number of them circling me.
Yeah, the whole pack. Yeah.
So he built me a training pen and he built a shelf where I could keep the treats. I had 17 graduated system of different kinds of meat.
Oh, wow.
Because they need to be motivated.
Do you want your doodle to listen the first time? When we're asking difficult things of our doodles, we need to pay them accordingly. We've had hundreds of doodles taste test different treats, and we've got a great list of their favorites. Go to thedoodlepro.com/treat freebie for our free list of Doodle's favorite treats so you can get your doodle to listen the first time.
Sit and stay right there. We'll be back right after this quick break.
Hey, quick break, because I've got something just for you. If life with your doodle feels more chaotic than calm, you're not alone. But you don't have to do it alone either. I created the Doodle Parent Challenge to help you go from frustrated and confused to confident and connected in just 10 days. No force, no fear, just science-based tools that actually work for doodles. It's free. It starts September 5th, and I'll be there guiding you live. Head to thedoodlepro.com/parent challenge and grab your spot now. Let's make calm feel possible again.
And what they had been doing now was to greet people by jumping on them.
Sounds familiar.
Exactly. So, exactly. I said, I know this.
Yeah.
I know what to do. But it took me 2 hours of sweat to get the first 7-month-old to sit instead of jumping, to teach that alternate behavior, which was rewarded. Once he got it, he was like, I can do this.
Yeah.
Oh, thank goodness. And then I said, okay, now the 8-month-old. Oh my God. Like you said, adolescence, right?
Great. Yes.
The 8-month-old was much easier. He wasn't as high content.
Oh, interesting.
But here he is, by the way. This is Shiloh. Oh, this is an oil painting from a photograph.
Oh, beautiful. I'll include this in the show notes if you're listening on our podcast, this beautiful picture of Shiloh.
He was just smart as a tack.
On our cover art, we have a picture of you with, I assume, is a wolf dog on a beach.
Oh, that's Journey. Oh. Yes, that is the wolf dog. He's high content. And it's so funny. Someone once said to me, either that dog is really big or Linda's
Oh, she's really small.
But I have some videos for some of your listeners who may be interested on my YouTube
Oh,
channel
wonderful.
of me training the wolf dogs, including Shiloh and Journey on my YouTube channel. It was definitely thrilling. And what I did was I taught the director what to do. And he was an excellent student. He took notes. He picked up on everything so that I could then leave with peace of mind. I did this for a number of months with his animals and teach him, which is what I do with trainers and pet parents too, that you understand, the principles, and then you're able to take it from there.
Yes. Linda, you mentioned your education. I know your educational background's in psychology. You have the hierarchy of dog needs, and it goes by the do no harm principle. Now, if I were to imagine when people think certain breeds need a heavy hand, you hear that phrase sometimes where positive reinforcement might work for this breed, but some breeds need a pack leader. If I were to think pack leader, I would think of wolves. And so much of pack leadership and dominance theory with dogs has been debunked. But if I think of where it would apply, I would think maybe wolves. So, did you need to use any of those tools with wolves?
Absolutely not. And
Interesting.
actually, using those devices or any harsh treatment of these animals, particularly wolves, but our dogs as well, because there's a lot of differences between wolves and dogs, but there are a lot of similarities because they're cousins, really, both in the order of carnivora. And using harsh methods actually with a wolf typically really frightens them and they will shut down and will feel threatened. And so then it gets dangerous, just as it does with dogs, particularly with aggressive dogs or what they call red zone dogs, really such thing. Those dogs are typically, they perceive a threat. There's either a real threat or there's a perceived threat. They had the opportunity, they would probably run away. But when we trap them in an enclosure or on a leash or put them in some position and situation where they don't have the time to feel out a situation and find out if it's safe, it's a primary concern. So if they cannot run away, then they will have to do something to protect themselves. And that before any learning can really take place, once a dog is fearful in that way, it makes learning next to impossible. And in fact, aversive methods and devices, contrary to popular belief, are a cause of aggression, not a cure for aggression, which surprises people because it can, in the moment, suppress the aggressive behavior. You have not changed the emotions that were driving the aggression or the fear. You have not addressed that. And it's going to come out as an opportunity because the animal is still frightened.
A lot of doodle parents say, I don't want to use a prong or a slip lead or a shocker e-collar, but a trainer told me I needed to, or my dog is more stubborn and that's the only way they'll listen to me. I think hearing this about true wolves and high content, if they don't need it, then using science-based and humane methods can really still work with your dog.
You are such a wise woman because that is one of the big reasons, aside from the excitement, the personal excitement I had for working with wolves, I believed, and it became true, that if I can work with these animals, I can then use them for models to help pet parents understand that indeed those devices and those aversive methods are not only unnecessary, but will contradict what our goals are in trying to achieve. And in my videos on YouTube, you will see Journey, that big,
Yeah.
that wolf dog, walking on a harness. And also you will see the director of the Wolf Education Project teaching Shiloh to walk on a harness. And with the right direction and with the right reinforcement, we are their guides. And with high value treats, typically healthy dog food, meat, dogs are biologically meat eaters, they're going to learn good habits. So, right. That is one of the things that I can point to and say, see this? Your doodle is not more difficult to handle than this wolf dog. Believe me. So it works like magic.
And how big was Journey? How much did Journey weigh? Do you remember approximately?
Maybe 140.
Oh,
You cannot quote me on that.
that's all right. But even let's say he's 120. I mean, when people say I could use more positive reinforcement methods with my dog, if they weren't so big, I need to use a prong in order for us to go on a walk because it's the only thing that's safe. Or I need to use an e-collar for it's the only thing that's safe. But if you were able to walk on a harness and a lead, a 100-ish plus pound high content wolf dog that shows that the using humane methods and not resorting to fear, force, or pain can really work.
Exactly. And believe me, they are strong.
Yeah, I can only imagine. If one of those jumped on me, I'd be laid out. Oh,
When I was up against the fence, I was like, oh, God. Your head is like up here.
yes. Oh, amazing.
Right the eyes. But they're just curious too. So, I mean, I learned so much about wolves and the myth of the big bad wolf, but they are strong. Yep. They are strong.
When I hear you talk about your work with them, I hear about your reinforcement, looking for things that were motivating to them, that you had like a tiered system of meat. I'm not hearing you say, I needed to be their pack leader. They needed to know I was their authority. They needed to know their place. I needed to exude my confidence so that they were secure enough. I'm not hearing any of those kind of pop culture phrases that we often hear.
And it is really sad that there is so much misinformation in the totally unregulated dog training field because anyone can call themselves a behavior consultant or a dog trainer and put up a nice website and charge you money and speak as if they know what they're talking about. However, no competent trainer would resort to those methods because, as I said, it's antithetical truly to learning. There is another way, and that way is the do no harm ethic, the hierarchy of dog needs. It's really magical, Corinne, because guess what? The science is on our side.
Yes.
That's why my book has 23 pages of scientific citations because I have a graduate degree in psychology, which is the study of animal behavior, and I've done research in behavioral neurobiology. So I have looked at the brain function and brain anatomy and comparative psychology. This is one of the reasons that I did what I did and I do what I do is because I felt a responsibility to impart this knowledge in my decision making about how in the world can I present all of these concepts.
Right.
One page. I thought that people could learn to empathize with their dogs more by putting themselves in their dog's paws, so to speak, dog's moccasins or shoes or whatever you want to call it. But by recognizing that our needs are very similar to our dog's needs.
You use children as an example. I see, and I'm not new in thinking this, but I see our shift in dog training matching our shifts in parenting. It wasn't that long ago in many of our families that you were told to go out and get a switch, or dad threatened the belt, or real hands-on corporal punishment was the way of being a good parent. And we know better now. Dog training seems to fall behind in pace, But we do know better now with the science that we don't need to use intimidation, fear, or pain.
The analogy between children and dogs is very important that pet parents understand this. And some of the recent research has been done by Dr. Gregory Ferns that you might have heard of this, where dogs were put into a functional MRI machine without being constrained. And they looked at their brain function and found out that dogs have approximately the same impulse control as a 2 to 3-year-old child. But your dog isn't going to grow up. Your dog's going to stay a 2 or 3-year-old child for life. So when you consider that and you really what that means in terms of how you're going to treat this sentient creature in front of you, the heartbeat at your feet. I'm sorry.
I agree.
I'm very passionate about what I do.
Yes.
It really can give pause for us to find a way to treat our dogs as if they were a 2 or 3-year-old child.
Yeah.
We have such unrealistic expectations of dogs. We put so much pressure on them. And when you understand their brain anatomy, they're simply not capable. Like you mentioned stubbornness before. That's a human psychological construct. Dogs are not stubborn. They're
Or defiant or vengeful. Yeah.
Exactly. It's really unfair to label them that way. They are just very honest. They're very honest about their feelings and their experiences. All we have to do is to learn how to read that body language. Before doing anything, listen to the body language, and then you can make a considered judgment about how to respond to it. It's just so important that we learn to do that. And then what we want is happy families.
Yes.
We don't want people being drugged down the street or have dogs jumping on and knocking over their children. And so the beauty of positive reinforcement training is that once you understand the underlying principles of word-based training, you can figure stuff out yourself. It's like a light bulb moment. It's like, I know what to do.
And positive doesn't equal permissive. So you mentioned you want to be able to have kids in your home and dog in your home where they're not jumping on the kids. I expected my 2 and 3-year-olds to be polite. We started really early with a please and a thank you, but it was developmentally appropriate for what they were capable of. And I taught them in a developmentally appropriate way. I praised when they did it right. I would hang on to the ice cream until I got their little please. And it's very similar.
With children, when you look at Piaget on the studies in developmental psychology, it's really not until the age of approximately 5 years old that a child's brain is developed sufficiently to be able to understand some critical ideas about interacting with the dog.
Yeah.
It's not until they're about 5 that they understand that, number one, the dog can bite them and what that would mean for them, for their parents, for the dog. Number two, that they can hurt the dog. So again, until the brain has developed the prefrontal cortex and the executive functions, it's just not possible to teach children. It's the pet parent's responsibility to keep their dogs safe.
Yeah.
And to keep their children safe.
Yeah. Management is key.
I would just like to say that the first do no harm ethic is, and you mentioned this, that is the overriding state of mind, the overriding code that is my goal to bring to the dog training industry. When we look at any other agency or association that deals with sentient creatures, whether it's the American Veterinary Society of Animal Behavior, the American Medical Society, the American Psychological Society, the American Hospital Association, they all have a first do no harm ethical code.
Right. And they don't say, except for these breeds, or except for a dog in the red zone, or except for a stubborn dog. It is across the board.
Another really good example are zoos.
Yes.
Zoos have become very progressive. You can watch videos of zookeepers training alligators these days.
Yes.
They have cheetahs at the San Diego Zoo. They are kept like on a collar, not a prong collar, a flat collar.
It's amazing, right?
If we understand that the same principles apply to our dogs that we can use to train wolves, wolf dogs, animals in the zoo, just finding a competent trainer is not easy to do in this field. But I recommend the Pet Professional Guild, where they have a trainer directory and they have an ethical code. That is the only international large dog association that is clear about ethics in training. You know, your audience, you can feel confident that if they go there, and you can do a trainer search by zip code, it's really easy to find someone who's going to know what they're doing and can help and not hurt your dog, but rather enhance the relationship
Yes.
that pet parents have with their dogs. Because after all, people get dogs because they want that loving
Connection.
They want that bond. They don't want to hurt their dogs. It doesn't work and it's not necessary. So we do know better now. It's just a matter of it becoming more widely accepted and strengthening our animal welfare laws, regulating the dog training industry, and for all of us to raise our voices and insist that we want to treat our dogs in a more humane manner. In fact, the American Veterinary Society of Animal Behavior just recently released their position statement on humane dog training, and they are very clear. They list all of the things not to do and all of the things to do. We're really trying to make it widely available and well known because the American Veterinary Society of Animal Behavior is the premier authority on behavior. So it's coming. It's going to get better. I have great hope.
And I'll include a link to that statement in our show notes because it's fascinating because they talk about not only does doing harm do harm, but that the science backs up that positive reinforcement and science-based and humane techniques are more effective. So it's not only should you not do XYZ, but if you want to be productive and have good success with your dog, science-based and humane methods are the best. If you want to follow Linda's recommendations on finding a trainer in her book, she has a whole section on how to identify a skilled trainer because as she said, it's an unregulated industry. Anyone can pick up any tool they want and call themselves a dog trainer or a behaviorist. So that's really helpful, Linda. If you enjoyed hearing about the adolescent dog brain when we talked about adolescent wolves and some of the overlap, you might enjoy listening to episode 15, where I discuss with the owner of Denver's Paw School and their training manager why adolescent dog brains are under construction and what training they need during this period. I highly recommend this book by Linda Michaels. It is a fantastic read. I read it from cover to cover, but it is so rich that you don't need to. I recommend starting with the first chapter that outlines the basis and the reasons behind the approach in the book, and then use it as the handbook as it is and pull out the pieces as you need them when addressing different areas of training with either your clients or your personal dog. You may find the Do No Harm Dog Training and Behavior Handbook on Amazon, Barnes & Noble's online, and for booksellers through Ingram Spark. Catch part 2 of our interview where she outlines the hierarchy of dog needs. You might be familiar with Maslow's hierarchy of human needs. This follows the same premise, but outlines what our dog's needs are instead. If you're having behavioral problems with your doodle, identifying what needs are not being met on this hierarchy of needs is an excellent place to start.
Thanks for joining me on this episode of the Doodle Pro Podcast. If you enjoyed the show, don't forget to rate and review us wherever you get your podcasts. And I invite you to follow me on Instagram at @TheDoodlePro for behind-the-scenes peeks at all of the adorable doodles I work with daily.